Welcome to Creating Wealth with Jason Hartman. During this program, Jason is going to tell you some really exciting things that you probably haven't thought of before and a new slant on investing. Fresh new approaches to America's best investment that will enable you to create more wealth and happiness than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who not only talks the talk, but walks the walk. He's been a successful investor for 20 years and currently owns properties in 11 states and 17 cities. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to financial freedom. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show, episode number 164. This is your host, Jason Hartman. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is almost 7 p.m. here in Irvine, California, and boy, I love these longer days, don't you? Most people around the country had a time change, and everybody likes the later days when the sun sets later, so it's really good, and I don't know why we just don't have that all year round like Arizona does. They have it right over there. Anyway, I'm on my way to Arizona this weekend, coincidentally, and I'll be looking at some properties out there and reporting back on that. I was just there a couple of weeks ago, so I'm going again to take another look. Anyway, what do we have today for you? Well, first of all, a couple announcements. Join us on May 22nd for the Creating Wealth Bootcamp. That will be live, and you can register for that at jasonhartman.com. Masters Weekend is in October, and we've had a few people sign up for that nice and early. They get the early bird pricing, and remember that pricing does keep continuing to increase as we get closer and closer to the event. So we really want to encourage you to register early like an early bird because it is much less expensive for us to do our business planning and plan for the event properly when you register early. So we're incentivizing you to do that. Please register early for Masters Weekend, jasonhartman.com as well for that one. Also, we have our Masters Weekend audio product. It is over 15 hours long, and it features, I believe, 22 speakers where we've combined together two different Masters Weekends, and we took kind of the best of both, combined them together. So that product is available at jasonhartman.com in the store. Go and take a look at that, purchase that. We'd love to have you get a hold of that. You'd be one of the first people to do it if you do it right away, and it's just a great program. I think you'll really like the audios as a home study course, and it comes with a whole bunch of materials as well, and it's all digital download, so go and check it out. Today, we have got a profile on the Dallas market, and we're going to start hearing from a client and hearing from their experience. We just recently talked to one of our clients who really liked what they saw in Dallas, so you'll learn some stuff about that. And then you'll hear Phil talk about the Dallas market. He's involved with our local market specialists there. And then we will play the professionally narrated Dallas overview as well. So we'll have all three of those for you. Here we go with all of them. We'll just go right from one to the other in the interest of time and convenience. And join us for the next show where we're going to have a very good guest. And again, like I've mentioned before, we've got a whole bunch of great shows in the can, so to speak, that have been recorded that we're going to get out to you as quickly as possible. Anyway, here we go. Let's listen in. It's my pleasure to welcome Elton to the show. He's one of our clients, and we just wanted to get some feedback from him on his experience with our company and our investments and so forth, and he just recently took a trip to Dallas that he'll be telling you about as well. Elton, how are you?
Good. Awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for offering to come on the show. That was very nice of you. We always love to hear clients on the show, especially with good experiences and so forth. And just maybe tell the listeners a little bit about your experience with us as a company, if you would.
Sure. Well, I guess about 9 months ago, I was referred to by a friend to the Platinum Properties website, jasonhartman.com, and I started listening to all the posted podcasts and the essential podcasts and learning from there. And then from there, kind of spent some time, maybe a few months, going through all the podcasts, and then started getting into and looking at actually going into a deal and getting my feet wet. So I started with Indy, actually working with Angela, and unfortunately, two properties that I was interested in fell through, and it has nothing to be said with Angela or that process at all. They just fell through,
right.
And just what happened after that, during that process, you had Masters Weekend, in which you showcased a bunch of the other areas, and Dallas was one of them, and we were impressed with Dallas. A friend and I went to a Masters Weekend, and we were impressed with Dallas and wanted to check it out.
Now, you were just at the last Masters Weekend we had in March, a month ago, right?
Yes, that's right.
Great. So, Elton, now, you recently moved from Hawaii, didn't you? And you still, your old house there, you kept it and rented it out, right?
Yes.
And so you live in Los Angeles area now and came to Masters Weekend, listened to the podcast for several months beforehand. Anything you want the listeners to know about the podcast? I mean, maybe someone is just joining us and this happens to be the first show they've heard and they haven't spent the time yet to go back and listen to some of the other episodes. Had you listened to other real estate podcasts or looked at other real estate educational opportunities out there?
Not at that time. A few years, actually maybe like 10 years ago, my friend had the no down payment 10 CD package. He lent that to me. So I heard that. I didn't really get much out of that at that time. But then yours would be the first podcast I was actually started listening to, and I was impressed. It was the first one I listened to had so much content, and it wasn't just a sales pitch. And then from there, I just wanted to listen to more and more, and ended up listening to all of them within, I don't know, probably like a 3-week span.
Right. Yeah. Good. Hey, good to hear that. I'm glad you hear that there was a lot of good content on there, and we just try to really make them content rich and not be overbearing. Of course, we do want people to buy things. That's how we stay in business, but we want them to feel comfortable. And what we find, Elton, is that a client who is listening to the show is just a much better client because they come pre-educated and they get it, and we don't have to convince them this is the right way to invest because they've really done their homework. And there's a lot of different opinions out there, aren't there, of how you should do this. I mean, some people say you're going to get rich your first month, and we don't believe that. We think it's a buy and hold strategy is the best one.
Right, and I think that's what really sold me was that real approach, and that you're not going to be a millionaire overnight, that it's a long process, that you just got to stick with it and keep your nose to the grindstone, and you do the right things will happen. I think that's what really sold me. And just just for you, and you can feel that genuineness in what you're presenting. It quickly got sold on that. It wasn't like it. I didn't feel that it was a sales pitch any other time when I was listening to any other podcast.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you for that. Tell us about your recent trip to Dallas. Now, you met with our team there, and they showed you around, and you looked at properties, and you bought a couple of them, right?
Actually, I bought one, and the buddy I went with, he actually bought 2. So we went for one weekend, and we came home with 3 properties.
Excellent. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us about your experience there. What did you see, and what you like and dislike, and what was it like?
Yeah, it was just a great trip. Phil met us out there. We took like a 12:30 at night red-eye from L.A. to get there, so we got there at like 9:30, bloodshot. And
I hate those flights. I've taken them to New York before, and I just do not like them.
Yeah, it was tough, but it would definitely worked out because it gave us a full day Friday to look at properties. And Phil picked us up. He took us straight to the office. We met all the players, everybody from each section of them. That
I've met all those guys too. So yeah,
good guys. They sat us down. They said, okay, this is the inventory of properties that we have available. Basically, talk a little bit of what kind of property we're looking at, and we just hit the road all day with Phil himself, totally dedicated to us, and it was a great experience.
Excellent. So you probably drove around in one of their big trucks, I assume, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I was amazed at how big those trucks are when I was there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it really is.
It was huge.
Tell me about some of the neighborhoods and the properties and all of that stuff.
Sure. Dallas was a pretty amazing place in general. I thought that, both my buddy and I, coming from L.A., we thought it was a very clean environment and a very new environment. You see a lot of new restaurants all over along the toll roads, tollways, which is like their freeways there. And then the neighborhoods, we started in the South Dallas, which was kind of a more established, older, not older, I wouldn't say like real old, like the properties we were looking at were between 2002 and 2004.
Yeah, certainly not older, but but not brand new.
I guess more established.
Yeah, right.
Probably what I'm looking for. And so then that's on the southern side of Dallas. And then Saturday we spent looking at the northern Princeton and McKinney areas. And that's definitely newer development, and you can just feel it kind of ready to pop up there.
I'm very impressed with Dallas myself, and I drove all around both of those areas with them in their big high trucks, and was impressed with the business model, and our affiliation with them has been very good. I love the way they really process their operation in terms of using the same parts and the same colors and styles and flooring in each house, so that there's a really nice economy of scale there.
Right. I think that's the biggest draw for us, was that, that single source, one-stop shop, that these guys have good relationships with the lender. They have an in-house property manager. They do their own contracting as far as the renovation of the REO itself. And like you said, they do it very cleanly in terms of they use all the same paint, all the same flooring finishes. And they do it with class. It's very clean. The finished product is very, very clean. Impressive. Especially when you go, like a lot of the properties we're looking at were just properties that they just picked up. So then, you couldn't really feel anything because it's just a picked up REO at that time. And then they took us to one or two that were actually finished and their completed product that was ready, almost rent ready. And you could just feel the difference and feel value in what they had done.
Excellent. Well, good stuff. Anything else you'd like people to know about your experience with us or any of our local agents?
Yeah, for you guys at Platinum Properties, Sarah's been our contact, and she's been great help making sure things get done for us. And with those guys, have just been very, very helpful, very responsive, made it easy for us to get everything done. You go through the whole pre-approval process before the trip so that, come the last day of your trip, you're ready to make a deal with them. It's easy in that sense. And
they've got some good deals. Do you want to talk about the actual deals themselves, like the property you bought, the two properties your friend bought, and how much they cost, how much they're going to rent for, et cetera?
Yeah, the property I bought it's in Princeton on the north side, square footage at 1681. And bought it for $130,000.
Mm-hmm.
It's about $77 a square foot.
That's good.
The lot size on this one was a corner lot, so I want to say it's listed at like 0.4 acres. So a pretty big lot for a single family home.
Yeah, sure is. That's over 20,000 square feet, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty big. And then let's see, the rent that they're looking at is $1,325.
So you're renting at more than 1% of the purchase price, which is great.
That's right.
That's a very good RV ratio, which, of course, we told you all about on the podcast. So, you got a good deal there, right? Yeah, good. Good stuff. How about your friend's deals?
Let's see. He bought one. He actually bought, it's hilarious, we bought 3 homes down from that one that I bought. The one I had was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. His was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a smaller square footage. I don't have it on me. He paid $120,000. So the big joke is that when we get kicked out of our houses in L.A., when our wives kick us out, we're going to be neighbors in Texas.
That's what we always say. The investment counselors and the staff here at Platinum, we own houses, some of us, around the country in the same neighborhoods and some on the same street. And I always say that, I always joke with the people here that someday we're going to be neighbors in one of these other neighborhoods.
Yeah, really, and especially in Dallas. It's so enticing with how cheap property is, and the cost of living is so much cheaper. We had a funny, just going in there, we ate breakfast at the airport for like $5 a head.
Isn't it amazing?
And then my friend was leaving for Hawaii on vacation the other day. He texted me back. He said, "Oh my God, I just spent $20 for breakfast at LAX."
Yeah, it's just unbelievable how much less expensive everything is there. Gasoline, rent, houses, everything. And part of the reason is you've got a business-friendly environment. I mean, in California, they cut red tape lengthwise. I mean, you can't sneeze here without buying a permit for something. It's beyond ridiculous.
Right.
And there, you can just do stuff and make stuff happen, and that's why all the companies are flocking there. They really are.
And just being there, you can see all the Fortune 500 companies coming up, and a lot of I tell you, it was a totally different environment here. You don't see too many lease signs out in the commercial properties yet, or hopefully not ever. So like you said, a very different environment, business environment too.
Well, business there is moving in, and here business is moving out. So, and that really applies to every place like this. We only mentioned California because both of us happen to be in California, even though you're up in Pasadena and I'm here in Orange County right now. But states like New York, Hawaii, where you came from, I mean, those are pretty tough states to do business in. Oregon is not easy. The government just gets in the way. They got to get out of the way and let stuff happen. Well, hey, that's good. That's a good experience. So you're on your way to building your portfolio, it looks like. You've got you've got your old property in Hawaii. You've got one in Dallas.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if you want to hear about one of the other property that my buddy got was 3,600 3640 square feet.
Wow, that's a big one. How much?
For $160.
Whoa.
That's $44 a foot.
That is incredible. $44 a square foot. It'd probably cost almost double than that to rebuild it today.
Yeah, exactly. And
Amazing.
it's in Balch Springs, which is another pretty established, good neighborhood.
And how old is that house?
3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, and how old was yours, the one you bought?
Mine was 2004. Oh, sorry, 6 years old.
6 years, okay. So these are newer homes, which means you're not going to be buying a money pit, and you've got a warranty on them and everything, and that's just great. Well, it sounds like you guys cleaned up over there. What's next for you in your real estate portfolio?
I don't know. We're hopefully looking at going back there again. One good thing that for them is that for your debt-to-income ratio, if you get a property and it cash flows and you have the funds to invest in another property, you only have a 2-month period before and then you can invest in another one. So that's not like you have a big, I don't know what the correct term for that, not seasoning, but like a maturity period. So that's a pretty quick turnaround that if you have enough funds, you can invest in there within 2 months of renting your new property out. Yeah,
that's great. And what I say to you and all our investors is I'm glad you had a great experience in Dallas, but diversify.
Right.
Maybe pick up 1 or 2 in Atlanta, and then pick up another 1 or 2 in Indy, and another 1 or 2 in Phoenix. And don't have all your eggs in one basket, even if that basket looks very attractive, because if you think about it, there was a time in very recent history here when everybody thought California, the streets were lined with gold, and it was the only place to be investing. And of course, we saw that way before it crashed and told people get out now.
Right.
And those who listened did well. So diversify. Take the most historically proven asset class, but diversify geographically. Be area agnostic. Don't be attached to any one market. Just go where it makes sense.
Okay, great.
Yeah, good. Well, hey, good. Elton, thank you so much for joining us today. Anything else you'd like the listeners to know?
No, I think just want to give appreciation to you and your staff. You guys are doing a great service to everybody. Awesome podcast and good markets. I think that you guys bring a lot of value to investors like me who don't have much time to do a lot of the legwork by ourselves. Yeah,
and we should say that your profession is you are an engineer, right?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, so you got your own stuff to do, and that keeps you busy, and we'll help you with the investment side, make building that portfolio easy for you. Elton, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate the kind words.
Thank you.
Let's talk about Dallas. Dallas is a market that we've been active in for many years, and we just formed a new relationship last year in that city, and it's got some great characteristics. Our clients are having some great experiences there, and we thought we would give you another update on the Dallas market. We have on old shows quite a while back, but we haven't talked about it much lately. So Phil is here with me. Phil, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, good. Tell us what is going on in Dallas, and let's talk all about the city, the opportunities, the product that you represent. You have some unique opportunities there on foreclosure and bank REO deals. So tell us more.
Well, okay, I think I'll just kind of start with some new statistics that we just got within the last couple months here, and one of them that's kind of the most impressive in my mind is that we added 180,000 jobs in the last 12 months. Dallas, Texas, I know everybody's talking about the recession, and the jobs report comes out all the time, and it's always how many jobs did we lose, and Texas is actually gaining jobs, and so we gained 180,000 jobs and almost 500,000 residents just in the last 12 months. So,
boy, that's amazing how Texas is bucking the national trend, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I just traveled there. I was just there for a week last week, and as we were talking about before, that it's kind of amazing how the buzz, even on a Tuesday night when you're out, there's people out and about, and they're out, going out to dinner and spending their money. And it's really kind of a nice change of pace from what we see, on the news.
And what we see in California, certainly. I know that a lot of those jobs that have been created in Dallas actually left Orange County. When we're talking about the Fluor Corporation, Countrywide opened a big new call center there a few years ago. Texas is a business-friendly climate, and companies just find it easy to do business there, easy to expand. The government's not getting in their way all the time. So in those types of places, you have growth and you have good things happen when Uncle Sam gets out of the way, don't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, we have more Fortune 500 companies headquartered in the Dallas-Fort Worth area than any other city in the entire United States. I think that number's at 27 or 28 and growing.
Yeah, that's just not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Well, tell us a little bit about your process there. I know the firm that we've been working with is sourcing a lot of properties at foreclosure sales and with banking relationships and their real estate-owned foreclosure properties, etc. But tell us about how they're sourcing inventory and then, in turn, what they're providing for our clients.
Sure, absolutely. We've been doing this here in the Dallas, Texas area for about 11 years now. And over that time, our founders have created long-lasting relationships with the majority of the asset managers of the large banks. So that's really where the whole thing starts. We have a system in place where we have quite a large amount of capital that we're able to purchase these properties in foreclosure directly from the banks for cash, and we close in a couple days with no contingencies. So basically what happens is the asset managers of the banks tend to send their list to us first, and they allow us to kind of cherry pick off these lists and kind of identify some properties before they actually go out for sale to the general public. So that relationship is key, and it allows us to get our inventory at a better price because we're buying in bulk for cash. So that's where we really get the deals and make the whole thing start.
Let's just talk about that for a moment, if we may. You just made me think of this, and I want our listeners to hear this. People talk about buying foreclosure properties. They talk about buying REOs. That's an acronym, means real estate owned. In other words, real estate owned by a bank. And they view these as though they're all the same. They use that term generically. Oh, I got a great deal on a foreclosure property. But the reality is that the foreclosure properties vary pretty dramatically. And what you just said made me think of it, and I just want my listeners to really understand that. It's not just about buying a property that happens to be labeled a foreclosure or a short sale or an REO or a bank repo or a government repo or whatever. It's about really the relationships and the ability to acquire these properties. And that's what our relationship with your group in Dallas does, is they have those banking relationships, same with people in other markets. Atlanta comes to mind, but many other markets we're in. And sourcing those properties right, anyone can go on the MLS and buy a foreclosure property, but that doesn't mean it's a good deal. In fact, sometimes it's worse than the deal on the regular market because it sort of gets bid up because there may be a lot of hype just around that word foreclosure. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if you look on the MLS and you have a typical agent that's representing a foreclosure, then you're getting in bidding wars and all kinds of other things with other buyers. See, we take that step out of the process. We're getting them first, and a lot of these properties are already sold to us before the list even goes out. So that relationship right there, and you hit the nail on the head. It's all about the relationship. And you know, Texas is a good old boys club, and it's kind of, you know, who you know more than just as much as anywhere else in the country, and those relationships that we have are a true value. And without that, to be honest, we couldn't do what we do at the prices that we do because we'd be out there buying them with everybody else. So we really need that advantage of being able to buy them before they hit the market in bulk for cash.
Yeah, and it's not just about getting better prices, it's also about getting better properties and having first pick at the list, really.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, obviously price is key because we're going to go in and rehab these properties, and we want to there still to be a good value to the investor, but that's right. I mean, we could buy properties a lot cheaper in other areas, but we know the areas really well, and we're going to stay away from those. So that's exactly right. I mean, it's what you know, it's who you know, and you can really get in trouble just going off the MLS or Realtor.com or whatever the case may be and looking for a foreclosure.
More about your process. That's how you're acquiring the properties. And then talk a little bit about the rehab process, if you will, and bringing these properties up to snuff and what kind of inventory you look for. I know that these are newer homes. Talk a little bit more about that, if you would.
Sure. We have a long history in construction background. That's kind of where we started about 15 years ago, is the contracting background, and did a lot of custom remodels and builds, and then we got into building strip centers and multifamilies, and we decided a few years ago that this was going to be the best value for our investors, so we went back in the foreclosure market. So we basically buy these properties, and we like our cookie-cutter deal is going to be something built in between 2003 and 2007. So we like the newer construction models, all mostly brick exteriors on slab foundations. We do that for maintenance issues. It gets hot and windy in Texas, so we want to make sure that the properties are strong going in. And then we rehab all of them identical. We go into every single one of them, and we replace all the major systems. That's your heating and air conditioning, the hot water heaters, all the appliances all get replaced. We use the same carpet, the same paint, the same linoleum in every single house. And what that does for us is it allows us to use economies of scale. Again, just like we buy them in bulk, the properties in bulk, we can buy our materials in bulk, and we can save money and pass that along as well.
One of the things that I liked when I was there and I was looking at properties with your group is where you really had, down to the exact science, the flooring. The flooring that they use in the kitchen, for example, will be this vinyl flooring that looks like wood. And the reason they choose that is because you can take a little piece out of it if it gets gashed up and just apply another piece in, like a new plank of wood, if you will, but it's really vinyl. And it looks good. and it can be replaced in a small patch without replacing the whole floor. If someone puts a ding into your floor, you don't have to go through the cost of a whole floor. This stuff, when it's really done sort of mechanized, assembly line, economy of scale fashion, the efficiencies are fantastic for the investor, aren't they?
That's exactly right. Not only because we can buy them by the truckload and save money that way, but our crews, we have 75 guys that work for us full time, and they can go into a house and get started. They don't need anybody to tell them what to do. They've already done it 300 times. They know exactly what to do. After you keep doing it over and over and over, it becomes very efficient. And exactly, we're looking down the road for our investors too. So if you have a tenant move out and we got to get that rent ready and there's a little nick in the linoleum, well, we can fix that for about $15 rather than having to go in there and replace the whole floor. Or if a wall has a scratch in it or a mark that can't be removed, we can paint that one section, or worst case, just that one wall. We don't have to paint the whole room. Same with the carpet, and it just goes on and on and on. So it allows our holding costs moving forward to be as low as possible as well.
Thank you for listening to the Creating Wealth Show. This is Jason Hartman, your host, and we appreciate you following the show. We have many, many episodes, hundreds of episodes, and some of the older episodes have been archived and placed in our members section, and that applies to this one. So we include a sample that's about 25 minutes long, and then for the rest of the show, you can go to our members section at jasonhartman.com. Many of the other shows are still in their full-length, complete version. However, some of the shows, like this one, are in our members section where you can hear the show in its entirety. And again, you just need to go to jasonhartman.com and you can get the full show there in the members section, plus a whole bunch of other great members benefits and resources, whether it be documents, forms, contracts, articles, other video and audio content. Just a great resource. So be sure to join as a member at jasonhartman.com. And thanks again for listening to the Creating Wealth Show.
This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company, all rights reserved. For distribution or publication rights and media interviews, please visit www.hartmanmedia.com or email media@hartmanmedia.com. Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and the host is acting on behalf of Platinum Properties Investor Network, Inc. exclusively.